Hi, I'm Scott Gustafson with Dirt Rider Magazine, and I'm here to show you how to fix a leaky fork seal today. It's a really common repair that not a lot of people know how to do. It's something that's easy to do, but everybody thinks it's really hard. You can do it with a few simple tools, and we'll show you how to do it. First thing you want to do is you want to count the compression and rebound clickers on your fork, and you start by counting number 1 and count in from there. So we have 1, so that's 14 clicks. We want to turn them all the way soft at this point. Do the same thing for your rebound. When you put your screwdriver in there, that's click number 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're all bottomed out. So 12 clicks. Make it all the way soft. Okay. From here, we're going to get the old oil out of the fork leg. So you're going to take a fork cap tool specific to the type of fork you're using. This is a Yamaha WR450. These tools are available from Race Tech, Motion Pro, Rocky Mountain ATV. They're not too expensive, and every dirt biker should have one. So just start by unscrewing the top fork leg. And this cap will come off real easy if the forks have been worked on before. If they've never been worked on before, you can take them off by putting an old triple clamp on the top. And even though this one's a little smaller, still just tighten it down. And use this as your vise. And then if it's real difficult, you'll just use leverage and use that as your vise. Okay. So from here, we just want to drain all the old fork oil out of here. And if you've had a leaky seal for a long time, you're going to find that it's real dirty. So just let that go ahead and drain. The longer you let it drain, the more oil will come out of there. Really, 5 or 10 minutes is about all you need. You can let it drain longer. You can let it drain overnight. Essentially, if you just let it drain for about 5 or 10 minutes, you're probably going to leave about 5 cc's of oil in the system. So just kind of realize that when you're putting oil back into it. Now we've drained the fork oil for a couple minutes. We've got most of it out of there. We're going to let the fork tubes drain a little bit on their own. But right now, we have to take, this is a twin chamber fork, and there's a cartridge up here, and there's a spring down below. And we need to get that cartridge out so we can get the spring out so that we can separate the fork tubes. So here's how we do it. So take your front axle. You're going to need a 17 millimeter socket, a 15 millimeter wrench, and a damper rod holding tool. So what you're going to do here is put the axle in the fork like this. And you're going to unscrew this rebound nut or base bolt, whatever you want to call it. Like so. And that's going to be in there about 10 or 12 turns. If they've never been taken apart, they've got some Loctite on them, so they're going to take a little bit of force to get apart. Okay. Once you feel that bolt start to click, you've got it loosened up. And what you're going to need to do here is just take your axle, press down on it. The cartridge is going to come out. Put your damper rod holding tool right there. And now you're going to separate this rebound bolt from your lock nut right here. So just take your 15 and your 17, separate them. Okay, you're going to put that aside. This rod right here controls your rebound, so anytime you turn your clickers in and out, basically this is going to press the mid valve in or out in your fork leg and cause the rebound to be stiffer or looser. So just put that aside. And now you can pull this cartridge out of here. Okay, we're going to have a little bit of a mess here. All you want to do here is you want to get any additional oil. So there's oil inside your cartridge right here, but there's an air space on top where there's a compression spring on here, and you want to get that oil out of the cartridge so that it's not floating around in here causing excess oil. So what you need to do is take your screwdriver and bust open your air bleed right here. And just take that air bleed out. Okay, just turn her upside down. You can compress it a couple times. You'll see a few squirts of oil come out of there. But you might get 5 or 10 Cs or maybe even 15 cc's of oil in there that you don't want in your outer tube. We're just going to lock it in this vise and let it drain for a second. Okay, once we've let it drain out, we'll just set this aside. We'll also clean it off. You can clean it with solvent, contact cleaner. Maxima makes a really good suspension clean that'll clean all this excess oil off. Sometimes I just like to clean it off with clean rag. It makes it quicker. Okay, from here, put your bleed screw back in so you don't forget. Okay. You're also going to want to take this lock nut and back it out as far as it'll go. You can see it's already out, but you'll see why we do this later. So just set that cartridge aside. We won't need it. So now we also want to take our spring out. There's our fork spring right there. We're going to set this aside and let it drain. Just let it drain in the corner there. And we're going to let our fork tubes drain a little bit more now that everything's out of there. The more oil you can get out of here, the better. And you can see it's dripping right now, so we'll give that a minute or two and come back to it and show you how to separate the fork tubes. Okay, now we've let our fork tube drain, and what we want to do now is separate the fork tubes and put a new fork seal in there. So in order to do that, what we're going to need to do, we're going to put a screwdriver in here. Carefully pry that fork dust seal out of the way. Inside here, there's a clip. And we're going to want to get that clip out of there. That's holding your oil seal. Now, in order to get the oil seal out, we don't just want to, in order to separate it, we just pull these two fork tubes apart. But when we do it, we don't want to mess up the bushings in any way. We want to keep them in good condition. So what we want to do is heat up the outer fork tube so that it separates real easy. So you can do it with gas, you can do it with a heat gun. I prefer to use gas. And just real simple, just takes a few seconds here. Gets real hot, and this is really lightweight aluminum. And all we do here is separate them like that. Okay, so from here you can probably do a little bit of cleaning. Look inside the upper fork tube, just clean it out a little bit. And the real work is going to come with the lower fork leg here. So we're going to separate everything. So what we have here, bring it up to the bench. So now we pulled off fork seals and the bushings. And since we're only going to replace the oil seal here, I just want to clean up the dust seal really good. And then I'm just going to look at these bushings, make sure there's no imperfections. You want it to be this copper colored the whole way through. When you see it worn out, it'll be silver, that copper color will be worn right out. This bike doesn't have very many hours, so we can use those bushings again. Same thing with this other bushing. You want to check the inside here and just make sure the whole thing's not discolored. We'll still use these. Just make sure these aren't bad on the ends. Okay. So from here, what we want to do, we've got a little more work. We want to make this fork leg a little nicer. We want to check it out for any imperfections to see if there's any marks from stones or things like that. There's maybe a couple here that aren't so bad. So what we'll do, we'll take a little 400 grit emery cloth and we'll just sand that up and down. I want to just get a really nice finish to it. Just go up and down a few times. And then when you're happy and you can see that it's not catching your fingernail, little stone mark or whatever, it's all good. Then you can just clean it off and get ready to put a fork seal on. So we're going to clean it off. A little brake cleaner, contact cleaner. Just make sure we get any of that metal or any dirt off there, make it nice and clean. Okay, so from here, we're going to want to put our fork seals on. So, bad one, no longer used. We have a new Yamaha fork seal here. Okay, so what we do, this is a fork bullet. And if you're gonna put a mark in your seal, you're gonna do it when you're sliding it on here because of these ridges. So you can put a fork bullet on here over the top. You can also put, another way to do it, put a plastic bag over it, slide your seal over the plastic bag. Another way to do it is wrap it up with electrical tape. So what you want to do is you should put a little grease on your fork seals. You can also use fork oil. And from here, we'll just slide them over that fork bullet. And our clip goes on next. And we have this new fork seal. It's always important to use really good quality seals. Don't look for cheap ones. They're not going to last. So once again, put your oil seal over the top. It's a little bit tight there, but good. And you can take your bullet off. You can put your washer on the top. You put your first bushing on, and your second bushing goes right in that slot like that. Okay. So from here, we're just going to put our two tubes together. So I'm going to do it on this bench. It's a little bit lower. And that's a fork seal driver. They're usually split in the middle like this. They're available from Motion Pro, from Race Tech, from Rocky Mountain ATV. So in order to put that in, it's pretty simple. You're just going to put the two tubes together. First thing you'll do is just seat that washer in there. Make sure that's nicely seated. Then you're going to drive your seal in here. So we're going to use both for this one. And just put those together. There you go. A couple drives like that. It's all done. From here, put your clip in. This is real important. Make sure that clip is nicely sealed in there. You're going to want to make sure that you can take a screwdriver and move it around so it's in its groove. If not, the oil seal will come out. And then from here, you're just going to put your dust seal back on. I'm just going to clean that off a little more. Okay, that's it. Okay, from here, we're going to take our fork spring. We're also going to just clean that off. Get rid of the excess oil. There's always a little bit of oxidation in the spring too, so there's a little bit of rust every now and then. Nothing to worry about, but you don't want too much. So just go ahead, drop your fork spring in there. Let's see if we can balance it right here. Then we're going to take our cartridge. Now, there's also oil in here. We didn't show you how to bleed this today because this is a relatively new fork, so I don't think we need to do that. On some KYB forks, this spring seat will drop off. It all depends on which model it is, so if it does fall right off, don't be too alarmed. Pretty normal. It's kind of made to be that way. So take your cartridge, put it on top of the spring, inside your fork tubes, screw that down a couple turns, and then flip it upside down. Now you're going to take your axle again, and you're going to compress the fork so your damper rod comes out. Put your holding tool right there. You're going to take your rebound rod. You're going to put it inside. You're going to press it down just to make sure that nothing sticks or anything like that. Now you've got your rebound adjuster or your base bolt. You can go ahead and screw that down. Now, it's really important that there's a space in between here, that basically this rebound adjuster is bottomed out against the damper rod. And take your 17 millimeter and your 15 millimeter wrench and tighten everything down. Okay, this is going to take about 20 foot-pounds, like so. And go ahead and pull your holding tool out, and then you can just tighten everything back down. Sometimes it's a good idea to put a drop of Loctite on that rebound adjuster. Okay, and this is going to get tightened to about 50 foot-pounds. Okay, now from here, we're just going to add some oil, and you're almost ready to go. Now your fork oil, go off the manufacturer's recommendation. They'll give you a high and a low mark. The low mark is going to be a little softer. The high mark will make your fork a little stiffer towards the end of the travel. And on this particular fork, the standard fork oil level is 325 cc's. We're going to go just a little bit more, about 340 cc's. I almost got that perfect. So we'll just dump out just a hair. Right there, we're at 340 cc's. And you're just going to pour the oil back in the fork leg. It's always good to use a good quality fork oil. Makes everything work good. And then give that a minute for everything to come out of your whatever measuring device you use. Just get to where you're not dripping anymore. Okay. Now we're going to tighten everything back up. Let's take our fork cap tool again. Go ahead and tighten that down. Just needs to be hand tight. Some people really crank them down. You don't really need to. It's not going anywhere. Okay, so from here, just return your clickers to where you had them. In this particular case, compression was 14, rebound was 12. So turn it all the way in. Okay, your first click is number 1, so start from there. 1, 14. Same thing with your rebound. Turn it all the way full hard. We need to go 12, find that first click, that's 1. That's 12 out. Easy as that. And there you have it. That is a completed fork seal repair. You can do this on your own for just a small amount of money. You just need to invest in a couple tools, and it's very easy to do. You just saw it. Thanks a lot.